One of the greatest marketing skills that you can develop is the ability to look at your marketing from the point of view of prospects rather than your own point of view. My guest today is very good at this and is going to tell us how prospects behave when they're thinking of picking a new MSP, why reviews are so important, and why you must put pricing on your website. Hey, I'm Paul Green from the MSP Marketing Edge, the leading white label content marketing system that's trusted by over 700 MSPs around the world. Check if your area is available now at mspmarketingedge.com. Today's big interview is with someone who can tell you how to get a lot of your marketing basics right.
Hi, I'm Megan Killian, and I help MSPs scale from the $2.5 million a year range up until $10 million a year.
Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. And I should start by saying a fellow Doctor Who fan as well. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, you'll see just over Megan's left shoulder, one of the old Doctor Who's, well, say old Doctor Who, he's just regenerated into the 15th Doctor. Megan and I are going to have, we could do like an extension to the podcast where we talk for 30 or 40 hours about Doctor Who, which no MSP on the planet will be interested in. Maybe we should do that as a separate recording. Maybe one or two, probably not as many as are interested in what you've got to say about marketing, which is, of course, why you are here. So tell us a little bit about you. So what kind of work do you do with MSPs and what's your background?
Sure. So I've been in B2B tech sales and marketing for the last 15 years. And in that time, I've done $550 million in B2B tech revenue. About 80 to 90% of that was at least influenced by LinkedIn. And I have worked directly for all four of the big telcos here in the US, as well as multiple MSPs, a lot of CDNs, so content delivery networks, and a few SaaS companies. About 5 years ago, I launched a consultancy. And 2 years after the consultancy was launched, a lot of my clients, especially my MSP clients, were coming back and saying, "This is such an incredible strategy, Megan. Who's going to do it?" And so then about 3 years ago, I relaunched my consultancy as an agency, the Megan Killian Consulting Agency. And we help MSPs with three major things. We help with revenue consultation at the front, make a plan, figure out what you need, figure out what you have today and what you need to change to get where you want to go. And then we help them with some outsourced sales through fractional SDRs or some like managed and coached sales plans. And then the third piece of what we do is just some content marketing. Most of the MSPs that come to us, they're kind of starting on ground zero. We've seen some websites that were straight up PDFs put online. So we help them make their online presence, just make them look a little bit more like a business of the 21st century.
And you kind of think it shouldn't really be that way in 2024, and yet you and I deal with enough MSPs to know that actually sometimes marketing is very much a distress activity, something that they get round to after they've done all the fun tech stuff. Let's talk about marketing from the prospect's point of view, because I think any good marketing, and I'm sure you agree with me on this, any good marketing starts from saying, right, who are we going to sell to, how are they going to find us, and why would they want to engage with us in the first place? What's your kind of thoughts on how prospects go through that journey and find MSPs in the first place?
Yeah, so I talk to a lot of MSPs that feel like if I could just get in front of more people, I could sell more because I have just this great personality for selling. And the reality is that 96% of B2B prospects do their own research before they're willing to speak with a human sales rep. And what's more, 71% of those prospects prefer to do solo research instead of talking to any person. So even if you have customers that would be willing to be a reference for you, the average buyer does not want to talk to them. So where are they going for information instead? They're checking out your website. They're checking out your LinkedIn. They're also extremely likely to look at reviews. The easiest reviews to find are usually Google reviews, but they're also probably checking your LinkedIn recommendations, potentially Facebook reviews, and highly likely to look at Clutch or Cloud Tango, which are just the top aggregators of reviews in the US. So if those things aren't really tight, the prospect may not be willing to ever talk to you. So what are they looking for, right? They're looking for your pricing. And I know MSPs hate putting pricing on their website, but even a range is very, very helpful to someone in understanding if they even could work with you. They want to know, like, what do you actually do for them? And you have to remember that they think in a different language than you do. They're not actually interested in what the cyber tech stack looks like. They don't care if you use Blackpoint or CrowdStrike, if you're partnered with Kaseya or ConnectWise. They don't even know what those things mean. They really care about, is this going to be full stack, including everything? Can I put in as many tickets as I want? Are you doing proactive maintenance? Is backup and disaster recovery included? Are you making sure that patch management and cybersecurity is happening? They want someone that they can trust. Beyond that, 73% of business decision makers today are millennials, and they tend to make decisions based on shared values. So when you think about it, as an MSP, what part of your product or service do your clients engage with the most? It's your tech support. And that's actually your people. And I think a lot of MSPs make the mistake of thinking that what a prospect wants to see is all of this technical information about what they do. And they want to talk about Microsoft Intune, and they want to talk about endpoint management. And the average small business decision maker, which 98% of businesses in the US are small, less than 100 employees, 89% less than 20, 78.5 less than 10. So we're talking, small businesses, they don't know what that technology even is. They want someone that they can trust, who they share values with, who's just going to handle technology and take it off of their plate. So the best way to really show that is by having, case studies, examples of projects that you've done, pictures and videos of actual real people. Make it easy for someone to trust you before they engage with you. Historically, most of the MSP clients that I talk to, they have relied on referrals to scale their business to the point that they're at. They've gotten to $1, $2, $3 million a year on referrals. And the good news about that is, to get those referrals, you have to have been doing a good job. Great. You've done a good job. When a referral comes into you as an MSP owner, that deal should be really easy to close. If you can't close referrals, you're going to have a hard time closing anything else. When it becomes time to create an outbound strategy and you want to attract more clients than just your referrals, you have to ask yourself, how do I build trust with people who don't know me? How do I make all that research that someone's going to do before they're willing to talk to a person indicate that we're a trustworthy partner?
This is really interesting because you're looking at what the MSP does from the point of view of the prospect, which is exactly what you want someone that's doing your marketing to do. And it's interesting, I laughed when you talked about putting pricing on the website, because I feel like this week alone, I've had 15 different debates about that on places like Tech Tribe, talking to some of the members, my members of the MSP Marketing Edge, and how important it is to put that pricing on the website, even just to pick that small thing. We had Marcus Sheridan on this podcast. I think it was December 2022 or January 2023. Marcus, of course, being the author of They Ask You Answer, which is pretty much the definitive book about content marketing and how to engage people who don't understand what it is that they're trying to buy from you. And he did a wonderful 7-minute answer about why you must have, at the very least, indicative pricing or a pricing calculator on your website. And even in the face of that answer, many MSPs are still fighting that. So it's fascinating to hear you talk about that as well, Megan.
I have the benefit of running an SDR team for MSPs in-house. So when we talk about They Ask You Answer, those are frontline people getting objections, which are just questions, from prospects about MSPs. And 80% of the time, once we've started a conversation, we're getting somebody interested in potentially talking to us, setting a meeting, they're going to ask, what's it going to cost me? How expensive is it? And we know that depending on the MSP, some of them do a lot of custom work. They're customizing their packages to an individual. It's okay to not be able to say oh, I can give you a quote right now. It's going to be this specific dollar amount. But what's really important, I've seen a good MSP website that says, our goal is to customize your technology solution to you. So we can't tell you exactly what it's going to cost until we've spoken with you. But most of our clients are paying between this and this per user, or between this and this for insert something. And it just gives people a lot more confidence and trust in you, because whether MSPs are part of the problem or not, One of the reasons that buyers are so anxious about companies that don't put pricing on their website is because it indicates a really bad buyer experience. They've had historical bad experiences with it. When pricing isn't on the website, I have to hit, I want to talk to a person, fill out a contact form. They'll get back to me at their leisure. And only then, after I've been put through this demo that I never asked for, will pricing be revealed to me. And at that point, I find out, I could never afford this anyways. So for MSPs that are struggling with this and they're asking themselves, like, should I put pricing on my site or not? The fact of the matter is, if you don't want to be a part of the race to the bottom, indicate that there is value in what you do and there is a price for that value.
So we're talking here about being utterly focused with all of your marketing on giving the prospect exactly what they want and removing the friction, making it easy for them. So you talked about lots of things there. You talked about social proof, case studies, reviews. You talked about things like the pricing. Tell us some of the other things that you sort of do at the beginning. So when you start working with a new MSP, and because you've got the luxury of doing their marketing for them, what are some of the other foundations that you get in place?
So in the very beginning, we want to define two things: who you are and who you sell to. And it's a shock how many MSPs really haven't defined that, or they've defined it in a way that is outdated, in my opinion. So they'll be like, I just want to do business with companies that have at least 10 computers and are within 50 miles of my office. Well, what can I tell you? I identify as a business that has 10 computers and is within 50 miles of your office. No, I don't, because that's not how businesses self-identify. So instead, we have to go a little bit deeper into building an ideal client profile and saying, maybe we do really well with medical companies that have, 10 to 50 employees and between 1 and 3 offices. A geographic range is fine, but add more to it, where we do really well with medical offices that value patient care, and they say patient care is their top priority. Why is that relevant? Because technology is helping support them being able to focus on patient care. Or, medical companies that do telehealth, because we know that they need more tech support to be able to provide that telehealth to their clients or their patients in this case, because language matters. Or we might talk about manufacturing companies, and it's okay to have more than one, but each one should have a unique value proposition to go to it, where we're sort of mapping what makes your MSP unique to what that buyer's unique needs are. So we're building out buyer profiles inside that ICP, and we're also going to build a unique value proposition, one that's just sort of general for everybody, and then one for each industry that you want to work in. When we're doing that, I put a lot of pressure on MSPs to define their why, really build out purpose, which, we're an EOS org. We work with a lot of other EOS orgs. So we tend to use that language, but your vision, your mission, your core values, figure out what really drives you and your culture as a company and put that on paper, because it really does make a difference in a world where, as I said, I think it's 71% of business decision makers that are millennials. Most millennials can reset our own email passwords. So we don't have that need for please hold my hand through everyday basic technology tasks. What we have is a need for someone that we can truly trust to run the technology of our business in an ethical way that aligns with our values so that we can focus on what's more important to us. It's more about the productivity drain of doing tech ourselves than us not being able to do it. So that's a lot of that foundational work that we need to do before we can even start to do a marketing plan or build out sales. If you don't have that, then it's all just going to be throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks, in case that wasn't obvious.
I completely agree. And of course, most MSPs don't do this, which is why the small number of MSPs in a marketplace that get good at marketing, that get their foundations right, that know who they're trying to talk to, why they're trying to talk to them, what the message should be, and how to build trust and a relationship with them, they do tend to see an almost what's the word I'm looking for? A larger share, a larger jump in business than they would expect to see if they were just carrying on without all that foundational stuff put together. Final thought from you then, Megan. If you could wave a magic wand and make all MSPs improve one part of their marketing, what would that be?
I mean, I think it would have to be their website. Not because I think it is the most important thing, but because it really is the face of your business in 2024. There used to be a time when we did business on Main Street and it was your front window that told everyone who you were, but that's not true anymore. Your website really tells people who you are. And it's also like, I forget the exact stat, but it's well over 85% that your prospect's going to look at your website before they meet with you. It may only be 5 minutes before the meeting, but they're going to take a peek. And if it looks awful, it's going to turn them off. And then my other thing to say about that is if your website looks exactly like a competitor's website within like a 50-mile radius of your office, you're completely denying the concept of a differentiator. Because if you're different than them, which is what you're going to tell them, right? You're going to tell the prospect, I'm not like my competitors, I'm better in XYZ way. How can they possibly believe you when you have a templated website that looks exactly like your competitors that are in the same market as you and you're potentially going up against them in the proposal stage?
Yeah, I completely agree. So Megan, we know what you do to help MSPs. Tell us what's the best way to get in touch with you.
The best way to get in touch with me is to find me on LinkedIn. If you put Megan Killian in, I'll probably be the first result. It's also LinkedIn/in/Megan Killian. I'm always monitoring my messages there, and that's definitely the best way to get in touch.
Paul Green's MSP Marketing Edge.